little video. This video isn't about cats, it's about tow bars. G'day guys, my name's Nick. This is my channel LowRangeNick, where I do videos about four-wheel driving, accessory fitting and maintenance for your four-wheel drive vehicle. So in today's video, I'm going to be fitting a tow bar to the MU-X. So I have a genuine Isuzu tow bar here. So I've got it second hand in great condition. And I've got a plug and play wiring loom over here, which just plugs into the harness up under the back there. And then you just run the wires into your trailer plug. And then you've got this little trim which sits on the bumper when you cut it out to go around the tow bar like so. Keep it nice and neat, all the bolts and a little spacer. So I'm pretty much just going to start the job now, get straight into it, get rid of this tyre, get that out of the way so I can get enough room to fit this tow bar up in there. So we've got the little toolkit out, so now we'll just open this up, get out the spare tyre removal tool. It's got a couple of tools in here, which is pretty good. We just need to get out these little tools here so we can reach in and wind down that tyre. We'll use this, so this little screwdriver, you can just pull it out like that. And you've got a flat blade, or you've got a Phillips head there. Just pop that out. Now we can gain access in here. So I've just got a few of those bars put together and I'll put it into the little device in here to lower the spare tyre. So now all I'm going to do is just lower that tyre down to the ground. So I'll just hang this out of the way so it doesn't hit me in the head when I'm mucking around under here. Get that well out of the way. It's hung up there now. Now we've got heaps of room up behind this bumper. Just start fitting the tow bar. So the first thing I'm going to get rid of is just this tow hook here. So I've just got two 14mm bolts, then I can take that out of the way. Now I've got rid of this tow hook here. I'm going to get rid of this bracket here because I'm actually going to have to cut out this section here for the tow bar to sit in there. So I'll take this little clip out, and then I've got two 10mm bolts up the top there which I'll get rid of, and I'll just cut the zip tie there to get the wiring up out of the way. So I'm assuming from factory when you buy this tow bar it would come with a little template, so it'd probably align on the bumper and then you'd be able to easily chop this out, but I bought it second hand so I haven't got a template. So what I'm going to do is try and make up my own template. So I'm just going to try and align it. I've got the two screws sitting out the back here. So what I'm going to do is align it and then poke these screws in when it's sitting dead square. So I get a bit of a mark. Just going to use a little ruler just to make sure I've got it central. So that's 9cm to the middle. And that's pretty much 9 to the middle as well, so that's pretty good. Just align it with this edge. So somewhere there. Now I can just push in those screws. I should get two nice screw marks in that bumper. So I've just made a little template up and aligned it with my two screws. So I've got my two screws here, and you can see it's got a little section here which clips over the bumper. So the bumper actually slides into this top bit. So I've left a little bit of room on the template for that. So basically all I do now is just align it on the bumper with my two little holes that I aligned before. And then I'll cut out this middle section here. So now I've got my little template sticky taped on. I'm just going to double check with my ruler that I've got it all lined up correctly still. So that's 10.5 to the edge. And that's also 10.5 to the edge to my screw holes. I'm just going to mark that with a texter. And then I'll be able to start cutting it out. So now I've done a beautiful drawing here on my bumper. So I've used my texter to draw some art in the section that I'm going to chop out, just so I know that this is the bit I need to get rid of. So I'm going to chop a big hole out of the bumper here, and then double check that my trim still fits correctly. Now let's see how that trim fits. We might need to take a little bit more off, but it's better to cut a little bit less stuff out than cut too much, because you can't put it back on once you've chopped it off. So just under here, it's just overhanging the bumper a little bit, so that means that I can take a little bit more off this top edge, so I can push that up a little bit further just to align it fully with this edge down here. A bit too much, something like that. It's not the straightest line I've ever drawn. Now I can put my little screw inserts here back on here, and align it for the final time and put those screws in. Just pop that up under there, get all this rubber out. So I'm just going to push these through because they're just plastic. It's just a plastic bumper, so it's pretty easy just to screw straight through it. Doesn't take much effort. There we go guys, the hardest bit's done. So fitting this is probably the hardest bit, just because you have to chop the bumper and try and align everything properly. But I've got my 2 screws in, it's clipped under the bumper at the top, and it looks pretty neat, pretty nice. So it hides all the cutout, and now it's time to fit the tow bar. So you can see here, these are the brackets. So you've got a little insert here which goes into the end of the chassis with some thread on it for this right side bracket. And these just go into captive bolts in the chassis, and then on your other side you've got captive bolts in the chassis underneath, because that's where the tow hook goes. So you got tow hook captive bolts in the chassis, and then you got these 4 which are also captive in the chassis. So I've just taken the tow ball tongue out to make it a little bit lighter, and I'm just going to lift it up and put a couple of bolts in to hold it in place. Now I'm going to try and align it inside of the chassis, around the exhaust, get it to slot up in there. A real one. There we go. How'd my measurements go? Looks pretty good to me. So now I'll try and hold it up and see if I can get some bolts in. So there's a little bit of a wriggle just to get it around the exhaust bracket while I align the other side. So this is a little spacer that they give you just to space out between the chassis and the tow bar. So I'm going to put this on the left side because there's a little bit of a gap, and then I'm going to use some medium strength Loctite on every single one of my tow bar bolts, all the bolts that hold it in. So I've slid that spacer up in between the chassis rail and my tow bar bracket, and now I'm just going to put the rest of these bolts in, all with Loctite on, and do them up finger tight. So just on this right hand side of the tow bar, we've got to put this into the end of the chassis rail. So it's just got 2 threaded nuts on it, and we just thread these longer bolts through the bottom. So you can see I've lined those nuts up with these holes. So now I'll just put a little bit of Loctite on my longer bolts and put them through here. Now I've got all my tow bar bolts in loosely, and they all have Loctite on them. This side as well. So now I need to move pretty quickly so that Loctite doesn't set, and I need to tighten all of these bolts up on both sides. Righto, so now I've gone over all these bolts with my ratchet, and I've tightened them up with my smaller ratchet on both sides. This side too. I've tightened those brackets up nice and evenly. Now I'm going to take my breaker bar and I'm going to go over and do a final tighten on all of my tow bar bolts. Nice, now all my tow bar bolts are tight. Gone over them with my breaker bar. So they're all nice and tight. They've all got Loctite on them, so they're never going to come out of that chassis. They're going to stay nice and tight no matter how many corrugations I go over. So that's awesome. So now I can jump out from underneath the car and I can fit the tow hitch. Fit the tow hitch back to the tow bar. Put my pin through. So I'm just going to tighten this bolt up under here just to take the play out of the tow hitch so it doesn't rattle around when I'm not towing. So just wind it up like that. Just give it a little bit of a nip. Keep it nice and tight. So I just need to remember that when I'm towing that I loosen this bolt back off and allow it to sit in this hitch correctly. Awesome, so that's the tow bar side of things done. Now I just need to do the wiring side of things. So just coming underneath the back of the vehicle on the left side here. You can see this plug up on the side of the chassis. It's got a little blanking cover on it. So this is our tow bar wiring plug. So pretty much just pop this little blanking plug off. I'll get my tow bar wiring plug, plug that into there, and then just run my wiring. So that just plugs in there quite easily like that. Now I just need to mount my relays up nice and high and then run the rest of my wiring. So I've secured my relays up the top there and I've zip tied up the rest of my wiring and run it around the edge of the bumper. And I've got it coming down here, so I'm going to mount my trailer plug just beside the tow bar, just under here, a little bit higher up around there. So now I've just got to put these wires into my 7-pin flat tow bar plug. So I'll show you how you do that now. So pretty much the first thing I need to do is just open up my tow bar plug. So you just take this little boot off here, and then the tow bar plug should just come apart like this. You have your 2 little screws and a little bracket here, and then another 2 screws that secure the top bits. So you just need to remember to run the wires through the little boot before you wire in any of the pins. So then this will protect it from all the dust and dirt and all the mud. Just get that over there. So now when we assemble our plug, we can slide that back over here and it will keep it nice and watertight. So basically what I do now is I just put these wires into the plug. So I have my signal, so yellow is left hand turn signal, so yellow goes into pin 1, so this is pin 1, so you just put that in there and then you tighten down this little screw and that'll hold it into the plug. So just always double check your connections, make sure they're nice and tight and secure, and then we can move on to the next wire. So the next one we're going to do is number 3, so the white wire is your earth return. So that will be number 3 over here, number 3, so hold that one in, tighten that up, it's nice and tight. And what do we got here? So we've got red, which is our stop lamps, so red will be pin 6, which is our brake lights, so pin 6, our brake, make sure that's out, there we go. Pin 6 in there. It's nice and tight. Now we've got 2 wires left. So we have our right hand turn signal, which is green, which will go into pin 4. So that'll be this one here. Now the brown wire, which is our last, is our tail lamps. So that'll go into pin 7. Now you've got a couple of extra ones here that we don't use. So number 5, when you have a brake controller, number 5 will be your blue wire from the brake controller, which comes into here, and then that will supply the power to the electric brakes on your trailer. And number 2 is like an auxiliary, so it's just like an auxiliary power wire which can come into here for some trailers. So now we've just got this little bridge to put on, just to keep all those wires central and to stop them getting crushed when we put our cover on. So just put this little bridge on here and put 2 screws through. Now it's time to put the little cover on. They'll just sit on like that. And we've got 2 screws to go in here to hold that cover on. So we'll put those in. And the final step is put our little rubber boot on that we put on first. There we go. So that should keep most of the water and dust and dirt out of there as much as you can. Now it's just time to find a place to mount it, drill some holes and put the bolts through. So I'm just going to try and get it as straight as possible, and then I'll mark my 2 holes. So I think somewhere there should be pretty good. So just mark my holes, just using the screwdriver just to put a little mark in the bumper, and then I'll just double check that I've lined it up properly. So yeah, they look pretty good. That should sit it pretty damn straight, so that should be perfect. Just get my drill, just drill 2 holes, and then I can bolt this up. Perfect. There we go guys, so the tow bar's all fitted, all wired up. So I've got my 7-pin plug, tow bar's in. So now I'll just show you underneath where I've sort of run everything and how I've tidied up the wiring. So there's the main plug, 2 relays, all tied up nice and high. Then my wiring just runs down along here, along behind this bracket, and then just to the trailer plug right here. Alrighty guys, so the tow bar's all fitted, it's all finished off. I've done the wiring, fitted the tow bar, got my Loctite on all my bolts, gone over them with a bar so I know they're nice and tight and they're never going to come loose. Last thing I really need to do is just plug a trailer in and make sure all my lights work correctly. Super happy with it, and now I'll be able to tow around the box trailer. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for more 4-wheel driving and accessory fitting videos. Cheers guys. What the hell?